Listen, is anybody else like completely stressed out about everything that's going on in the world? Shoot, I know I am. Whew. What's up, everyone, and welcome to Up and Out. I'm your host, LaPorsche. Let's get right to it. Pro-Palestine protests have erupted across the Middle East and around the world after a hospital explosion killed at least 100 people in the Gaza Strip. Hamas initially blamed Israel for the blast. Israel is blaming Hamas militants for the blast. And initial reports from the U.S. intelligence community released Wednesday say that Israel was not responsible for the airstrike. They believe it may have been caused by an errant rocket or missile launch from the Palestine Islamic Jihad. In Jordan, police clashed with demonstrators near the Israel embassy in Amman. The Advocate Channel's Nada Bashir reports from the protests. Take a listen.
Well, look, from the outset of this war, we have seen protests taking place in solidarity with the Palestinian people across the globe, not just in the Middle East, but here in this region. We saw last night a real outpouring of both outrage and condemnation following that attack on the Al Ahli hospital inside the Gaza Strip. So far, Hamas says at least 500 people were killed in that attack. They have pointed the finger of responsibility at Israel, although the Israeli government has categorically denied any involvement in this attack and has placed responsibility on the Islamic Jihad group inside Gaza. But of course, there is a real focus on the civilian toll, on the impact this has had. Hundreds of lives lost, killed in this devastating and horrifying attack. And we've seen the videos, those terrible images of bodies lined up outside of the hospital. And that is really what sparked these protests that we saw last night here in Amman. Huge crowds gathering in the city around the Israeli embassy. Some protesters even attempting to storm the Israeli embassy at one point. And of course, it is important to note that we have seen protests in support of the Palestinian cause taking place on an almost daily basis here in Jordan. But we also saw demonstrations and protests in Lebanon, in Tunisia, in Iraq, even in the occupied West Bank in Ramallah, where there were even some clashes between protesters and security forces. And this isn't going to end here. As we continue to see these airstrikes on Gaza by the IDF, as we continue to see the civilian death toll mounting in the besieged Gaza Strip, which is of course under a complete siege. No food, no water, no electricity, and no fuel is getting in. That solidarity with the Palestinian people is only going to grow, and I cannot overstate the prevalence and significance that the Palestinian cause holds in these Arab nations. It has long held a prime place of prevalence for many, and of course it certainly does for these protesters taking to the streets. Now the question is whether or not this translates from popular opinion to policy by Arab leaders. We've already seen the summit which was scheduled to take place today in Amman between King Abdullah of Jordan, President al-Sisi of Egypt, and President Mahmoud Abbas of the Palestinian Authority, as well as, of course, US President Joe Biden. That summit has now been cancelled, the Jordanian foreign minister condemning yesterday's attack. But of course, it remains to be seen what further action is taken by the Arab leaders. Nada Bashir, CNN in Amman.
We're also seeing the impact of this conflict, some say occupation, here in the U.S. A 6-year-old Palestinian American boy was stabbed to death 26 times in Illinois. He was laid to rest Monday. Police say he and his mother were attacked by their landlord, allegedly because they're Muslim. The great uncle of the 6-year-old boy spoke out about this loss. You have to hear this.
Yes, he is. He's a kindergartner. 6-year-old, just like any other 6-year-old. He was a lot of fun, exciting. He likes to laugh. He has a lot of friends, and yesterday we were talking about with the family, and they do miss him already. He had, we were looking just like for his future, and unfortunately it was taken very early. For the last couple of days we've been going around, like I was in Plainfield yesterday, and we were talking about this issue. Unfortunately, a lot of people, they have like a phobia, or they have some certain type of phobia from Muslims. When they look at them, they look at them as monsters, or as described overseas as animals. I think it starts with the leaders of our country. When they hear something like, let's say, some type of news, don't just come and say it before you make sure where this news is coming from and if it's even true or not. This type of information, when you give to somebody, like this gentleman here, like we said just a while ago, just like Hamid said, he was a normal person. There was no problem with him. He loved the kid, and suddenly he just...
Listen, the trailer is officially out for the new award-winning Netflix film, Rustin. Now, if you recall, I shared with you all that I was invited to an early screener by Netflix at the Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival back in August, I believe. And there I was able to meet the legendary director, George C. Wolfe, and get a sneak peek at the film. And let me tell you, it is good.
Who is that?
The famous Bard Rustin.
In 41, you called for a large-scale march. The time has come for another.
Nobody.
Now, this film is doing its thing at film festivals across the world. The film began its march with triumphant debuts at Telluride and Toronto International Film Festivals, and went on to win audience awards at Heartland and Mill Valley Film Festival. Along the way, director George C. Wolfe received the Spotlight Award at Mill Valley, the inaugural Shazam Award at the Hamptons Film Festival, ooh, you better do it, and will be honored with the Impact Award at the upcoming Middleburg Film Festival. Oh, you already know what I'm about to say to that. Okay, legend. The star of the film, Coleman Domingo, is one of our Out 100 nominees. For exclusive behind-the-scenes video and to learn more about the 100 most impactful and influential LGBTQIA+ people being honored this year, go to out.com, sign up for email alerts, and be the first to know. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss it. The Advocate Channel's Stephen Walker, hey Stephen, spoke with Joy Davenport, a documentary filmmaker that is a part of the Queer Cuts Film Festival. Take a look at part one of this very informative interview about Joy's New Hope Rondo film.
First of all, I want to say congratulations. What does it mean to you to have your film as part of the Queer Cuts Festival this year?
It's really meaningful to me for a number of reasons. I guess the most personal one is that I've been a filmmaker for over a decade, but I've never actually done anything that really intersects with the queer community, which as a documentary filmmaker, I often am pursuing stories and trying to tell and platform stories that maybe are underrepresented, but they're never my own. They're never like connected to people that I kind of am in community with. I always go elsewhere. So to tell a story that feels very close to home is pretty important to me.
And your film, New Hope Rondo, explores gentrification for the better and for the worse. Did making this film change any personal opinions or views you had on that?
I think it expanded and complicated my view on that, because I've lived in big cities quite a bit and gentrification is omnipresent. And I think what this film did is it expanded what I see as gentrification. Because scratching the surface in New Hope, if you start now, then there's some clear evidence of gentrification, corporate buyouts of property and that sort of thing. But then if you rewind 40 years, you see old timers complaining about the same thing when there were new condo developments and the good farmland was being developed. And then if you go back a further 40 years, you have the mill becoming the playhouse, since you have industrialization giving way to tourism. And it felt like every time I just went back in time a little further, there was just a different flavor of gentrification taking place. It's like a constant cycle in the area. So I think it expanded my view of it outside of the like narrow urban type that we're used to seeing into something much broader and cyclical.
Listen, always remember, the world may be crazy, but you can always fight to find peace within, all right? Oh, look at me on my kumbaya stuff. All right, see you tomorrow, girls.